Hey guys, well, I got all new bearings. We're gonna try to. I'm gonna try to tap this thing in. Just using a straight punch and just tapping it on the edge here, tapping it down to work it down. And see how that goes. Lordy, lordy, lordy. The world's going crazy lately. And I would say stay safe, stay at home, don't touch people, don't breathe people. And this is something not to joke around with, I guess. It's the possibility of getting your friends and family sick and potentially killing them. It's a bad thing. So I would say, let's get our minds off of this stuff and just kind of enjoy me screwing this up heavily. I can't find a pipe big enough to fit over that. That's why I have to do it this way. Not happy. See, what I'm afraid it's doing is it's just hula hooping, just sitting there, and I can't get it to go down. The only other option I have is to warm that bearing up and swage it on. Well, I don't think it's. Well, it's kind of on there, but I don't want to. Ow! 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 I don't want to mar up anything there. I don't think we went down very far anyway. So I'm going to just try to knock this out again without doing too much damage. Oh boy. Nope. There's no angle I can hit that dang thing over here. Just gingerly. Don't go too crazy. That's the seal there. Oh, you're probably not seeing any of this wonderful action. All right. Looks like it's coming. Looks like it's getting a little bit of headway here. All right. bummer. And come on, get out of there. Yeah, yeah, boy. So, what we got here is a failure on my part to think this through. Yep. That's not good. Ah. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Just trying to break it loose this way so it'll come out. And that's not happening. Boy, oh boy. Let's see if we can tap this down a little. Oh boy. Alright. See, if I heat that up now, the aluminum is going to expand at a greater rate, locking that in right there, which I don't want to do. That's a bad. Oh, shoot. I just don't have anything that, any pipe that fits over that. Make do without. How do you like that, engineering? There we go. Beautiful. That was kind of a daunting moment there for a second. Alright. So we're going to grease this. And see how that goes. And the lubrication I prefer, and they're not paying me or nothing, but this stuff is the bomb. It's like the best grease I've ever, well, it's a good grease. It's made in Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's been an industrial town forever, and should know about greasing things, I guess, since Milwaukee's built huge cranes and other other things, but don't be shy about putting grease on this. This headsets take tremendous loads, tremendous loads, and I had to say that. Yeah, and I forget what it was, pounds per square inch, but it's a couple of tons, believe it or not. You know, that these can take. Not all the time. Some of them are, you're coming off a jump, you know, like you're doing a double or a triple and you accidentally flat it on the other side. Well, that's a lot of pressure. Once your suspension bottoms out, this is the next guy that takes the heat, is these bearings. They take the brunt of that bottoming out hit. Even if it doesn't bottom out, it's still taking a real good hit. I'd like to, that'd be kind of a neat thing, is to find out how many pounds per square inch affect that bearing, and how, you know, because the bearings I took off of this bike were just junk. They were crap. They were done. You could, you know, all of the hardening was stripped off, and all you had was rust. Most of these bearings are hardened to a standard, and it's just, you have to kind of respect the bearing designers, the bearing engineers that figured out what. And the reason years ago bikes used to use what would be called the open roller with cups and cones. Well, that is all well and fine up until the loads get heavier, the speeds get heavier, and the amount of pressure these bikes induce on the bearings and front suspension. Like, you know, a lot of supercross suspension is very, very stiff, but they will break on, like, if you case a jump. If you look at the way factory suspension works, it's very, very stiff. Unless you get in trouble, and it saves your ass. Just like and it does it very well. So, without any further ado, we are going to go to the bike and install this headset. And I did manage to save the cups, because they don't have them. I mean, I called the bearing place and they said that they would have to order those particular cups, the rubber seals, and they just said, you know, we can get them and it would take like 6 days. And I said, forget the 6 days. I'll just come and get the bearings. I'll try to do what I can with the seals for the, and you know, on a dirt bike, seals are okay. They will keep a certain amount of dirt and water out, but they are not a fix-all, especially on a dirt bike. They contaminate the grease, but this Lubrico this doesn't wash out. It doesn't. It's real tacky. It doesn't wash out. It's good for below. It's real stable. It works really good in cold conditions, is up to 350 degrees. So there's a lot of good things to be said about the product. I like I said, I haven't found a grease that's equal to that yet. Because I've taken apart bearings that I've packed in this stuff years ago, and the grease is still good and viable, and the wear, once I clean the bearing off, there's literally no wear at all, hardly, because it's a high pressure grease. It doesn't get pushed out of the way of the bearing. It kind of forms a film there and stays on the bearing surface, which is important, especially if you're racing. And generally headsets probably fall maintenance, I would say, before you put the bike away. Take the front end apart, redo the headset, clean and grease, check, and put back on the bike and adjust. And now I can see, I'll see how that goes, but adjustment is a little confusing. They, even in the factory manuals, they are like, well, adjust it until it's smooth. Okay, what does that mean? That can mean anything. So what? But the way I adjust them is these aren't as good for adjusting because there's no the stem is your washer to lock the adjuster in. I don't like that. That it's not as effective. It's a little more fussy. But once we get the headset together, and a lot of times you can't adjust the headset without the forks. You have to have I even like to have the front wheel on when I adjust the headset, because you do it without the weight. There's a tendency, and I don't know if it's just me, but I'll tend to go a little too tight because there's no weight on it, and it just doesn't work well in the end, and you end up having to readjust anyway. I will when we get to that, I gotta set you up over by the bike, and the other thing we're gonna do maybe on the next episode is I got wheel bearings for the front wheel, because I thought the front wheel bearings were bad. They're not bad, but they are worn out. I have new bearings and seals for that. The other thing I'll show you is just don't throw those bearings in. Excuse me, bearings in the rim, because a lot of times from the manufacturer there'll be less than a spit of grease in those bearings, and I usually like to put a little more grease in them, and I'll show you how to take those seals off and then be able to put them back on, which is important.